Welcome to video 2 of section 1. As you can see on my screen, I have created an extruded part. I wanted to show you this first so that you have a good understanding of what I'm trying to do. I am also going to show you the sketch for this. Notice the dimensions and notice how my lines here are turned black. And it has these little green icons in which I'm going to explain what these all are. The extrusion that is created out of this is one that was created using the extrude boss base command. So let's get started. We had a part already. Now I've got to go to settings just to make sure that the settings for the part that I want are correct. I told you before that we needed ANSI. I'm going to go down to units and change this to 3 decimal places and click OK. I'm ready to begin. There are 2 particular ways to start this. I can start with the extrude boss command, or I can go to my tab here and just start a brand new sketch. If I say start a sketch, notice that immediately the message that I get is to select a plane on which to create a sketch for the entity. There are 3 default planes that come with SolidWorks: the front, the top, and the right plane. If I need to extrude from the front plane, I will extrude that, or extrude from the top plane or from the right side plane, depending on where those features are visible. So I'm going to use the front plane. As soon as I click on that, SolidWorks immediately shifts my line of sight and makes it normal to the viewing plane. So here I'm going to start with a line command. Click on it, and I can choose anywhere on my screen to start that line. I'm going to click on it once. Now pay attention to whenever I say click, that just means a left click. If I say right click, that just means the right mouse button. And then the middle scroll button, that is your middle mouse button that scrolls up and down. So I just regular clicked or left clicked here, and notice that it has started with the first point of my line, and now I have to choose second point of my line. If I select anywhere around here is good, but notice that whenever I get closer to it being a vertical line, it actually pops into place and it displays this yellow square to show that it is vertically constrained. So I'm going to click on that. If I move it just a little bit, it takes me out of alignment. If I needed that to be a slanted line or an angled line, then I can do that. Or I can just follow the line pattern that I have. I'm going to change the line alignment on purpose so that you can see how to fix that. And go back and align this 3 more times. And select it. Now I'm going to zoom in here so that you can see what I have done. This line did not end where it needs to go, so I can click and hold down the button and bring the line back to where it will be aligned to that end point. Okay, if I was to bring it here, it brings both lines down. Notice that the alignment is there, and I can select that to make sure that those 2 end and begin at the same point. Now notice that there's green squares all over my screen, and if I was to hover over one, it highlights a particular object. That just tells me that there's a vertical constraint, and the vertical constraint is to that particular highlighted object. I click on another one and it gives me that. This is a vertical constraint. This one here is a horizontal constraint. So now that I just created my sketch, notice that I didn't use any particular dimensions or anything like that, and now I'm ready for those dimensions to happen. But before I do that, I want to make sure that this line is horizontal. So I'm just going to click on it, and on the side panel here you will notice that I have several different parameters for that particular line. These are the properties for that line, and I'm going to go back and put a horizontal constraint to it. Notice that immediately that line shifted. Now I will start dimensioning. I'm going to click here to the start dimensioning command, and from there I typically start with the larger lines. I'm going to start dimensioning this, and that dimension should be 4.5. And notice how I just click on the line, it immediately wants to add that dimension. This one should be 6 inches. This next dimension that I will add should be 0.5. And I'm going to stop here for a little bit. To stop it, I'm going to click on Smart Dimension. So now I need to add relations to this line, this line, this line, and this line because they're all the same length. I could just go to Smart Dimension and dimension each one individually, but if I create this relationship, if I was to change this to, let's say, 0.75, all of these would change automatically. And so it all depends on the design intent that you will have, but it's just a little easier to establish this relationship here. So I'm going to click on the Add Relation command, and then it's asking me to select entities. Notice that there is a blue square here where it's selected. If I deselect that and click on it again, it will show that I am selecting the entities to add to my relationships. So I'm going to click on one, second one, third, and fourth line. And notice that on the selected entities, it has listed all the lines that I have selected. Next, it says existing relationship, and this square is blank. If I was to click on it, it shows absolutely nothing because it is empty. And so therefore, that means that it does not have, and those lines do not have any relationship. So I want all of these lines to be equal, to be the same size. So I'm going to put an equal constraint, and notice that immediately all the lines conform to that dimensioned line. Once I decide to do that, I say OK, and it automatically adds that equal constraint. Notice that it also added the little squares for those equal constraints for each one of the lines. Okay, I'm going to go back to Smart Dimensioning and dimensioned my next lines. This is supposed to be 2. The line from here to there, this is supposed to be, I believe it's supposed to be 4. And also I have my height, so from here to there, this is supposed to be 3.5. And the distance from this line to this line is supposed to be 2.5. And the distance between this line and this line is 1.5. And the distance between this line and this line is 0.5. So notice that these and these do not have a height dimension yet. I'm going to get out of the Smart Dimensioning. The reason for that is that these lines are also 0.5. So I'm going to repeat that add relationship command, click on this, click on that, and click on that, and say I'm not going to make them equal anymore. I'm just going to make it collinear so that they align with that original dimension line, and say OK. Okay, so now I have my object fully dimensioned, but if I look over here, it tells me that it's underdefined. So it's always a good idea to completely define an object. And to be able to do that, this is just floating in space and we have to constrain it to our origin point. So I'm just going to click and hold down this button so I can drag my object, and I can drag it and click it and just drop it on the point of origin. Now notice that all my lines are black, and it tells me here that it's fully defined. It tells me here that it's fully defined, and now I am ready to exit. I exit out of the point command, and I'm going to also exit out of the sketch. To exit out of the sketch, I can click on this button, or I could click on this one here to get out of the sketch, and that's what I'm going to do. Then I go to Features, Boss Extrude. It asks me to select the sketch or exit the sketch to use for reference. I'm going to select that sketch. Typically, the software already can detect the sketch already for you. So if it didn't, you can just select the sketch like that and you will automatically pick it. The distance is 6 inches, and I'm going to click OK. And it created my object there for me. Notice now in the history tree at the bottom, it has added a new item, and that is the Boss Extrude 1, and that is for the extrusion that we created. Now if I hover over it, it will highlight that feature. If I click on here and do sketch 1, notice that under sketch 1 I have that. If I needed to go back to sketch 1 for whatever reason, I can right click on here. This is the icon for edit sketch. I do edit sketch and it will show me the sketch there. I have nothing to change, so I'm just going to exit out of it again. And there you have it, your first object. This concludes video 2.